Welcome to White Peak Marketing Academy. My name's Tim Woda. I'm the CEO of White Peak. We're going to cover about 10 minutes worth of actionable digital marketing advice for you that you can just put to use for your website right away. So this week we're going to be talking about images for SEO, specifically 12 image SEO strategies that you can bank on. So these are very practical tips that you can make use of, and let's just jump right in. So the first one is stock images. These will not help your SEO. Almost every site on the web has a ton of stock images. You know, we've all seen it. We all know exactly what is stock imagery and what isn't. The reality is if you fill your website with stock imagery, you'll look unoriginal, you won't look very creative, and really they contribute to higher bounce rates. So when a bounce rate is when someone comes to your website and they leave your website before going to a second page. The higher your bounce rate, the less relevant your site appears to Google for the search term which led to the visitor coming to your site. So you really want to reduce your bounce rate, and having stock images does the exact opposite. It increases your bounce rate. So get rid of the stock images and instead use original high quality images. So these obviously improve the user experience and really result in the lower bounce rate. Everything the opposite of what we just talked about with stock images. So what kind of images? So you can use photographs. Those can be ones that you purchase. They can, you can have someone come in and take some pictures of your business or your customers or your products. You could have someone on your staff take those photos. It's creating data visualizations. So rather than just spitting off a bunch of numbers, you can create charts and graphs and so forth. Infographics, illustrations, anything that is original and unique to your website will help you reduce your bounce rate, improve your user experience, and improve your SEO. So we don't want to put pictures on our site just for the sake of putting pictures on our site. The ideal scenario is that your images should help tell a story or to simplify an idea. Sometimes they're used to break up content, but even in those contexts, it really should help advance the storyline. One of the things that we see a lot of companies do if you have a web-based business is taking screenshots of your products or your services. It's a great way to add value and help someone really understand the message that you're trying to communicate. But overall, the goal is to have a reason for your images, not just to throw images on the page. So when you have images, Google will actually can index these images. They can discover these and index these, and they become available within Google image search. And those are great ways for you to improve your traffic from Google. The trick is that if you don't have an image sitemap, it makes it just harder for Google to discover these. So you want to get that extra traffic, and that requires them to discover your images. The best way to do this is to have an image sitemap. So if you are on WordPress, you can use Yoast. It's a very popular plugin, and you can create an image sitemap, and you can upload that sitemap to Google Search Console. You can I know we're throwing out the word Google a lot here, but you can Google that if you don't know what Google Search Console is. But you can create this image sitemap using Yoast if you're a WordPress user, and you can make your images more easily discoverable for greater traffic. So when we think about these images, try to add some improvements to them, right? So for example, you can add personality in terms of colors and shadings and so forth. You can add text to overlay the image. You can crop or edit the images by resizing them. Anything that's going to create some uniqueness for your images. So there's a couple of tools that we've listed out here. Canva, Pablo by Buffer, Easily. These are all great tools you can use to add some personality to your images and some uniqueness that I encourage you to try. And when we think about images, there's really historically been 3 different file types that people use for the web. One that we're not going to spend a lot of time on here is GIFs. That's a GIF, a GIF file. It's a very small file. If you have a very simple image, you might be able to get away with it, but most people are using JPEGs on their website. So JPEGs for optimization purposes are great. And the reason is that they're smaller than the other file type, PNG, that we're going to talk about here in a minute, and they tend to maintain their image quality when they're compressed or resized. So as a kind of a default go-to, I would encourage you to use JPEGs on your site as the image file type. Now, one downside of JPEGs is that they use lossy data compression, and this means that the image quality can suffer depending upon the settings that you have set up in your website or in your even in your Photoshop. So just be aware of that. As a kind of your default, though, JPEG is a great option. So PNG, which a lot of people love PNG because it handles transparency and it tends to give a really, really high resolution, really high quality. So here's the thing. It's a great idea to use PNGs for your logo. We actually, ironically, see a lot of people use JPEGs for their logo, and they shouldn't. You want the highest resolution that you possibly can for your logo. You want it to look just totally badass. PNG is the way to go. It gives you the ability to have a smaller image, yet super high quality. Now, the other thing that you'll find that's really great about PNGs is that as you resave an image over and over again, you won't actually degrade the quality of the image. And so it's got a lot of things going for it. Transparency, high resolution, high quality, won't degrade with you saving over and over again. But the big downside is that they're bigger, right? So they're just simply bigger files. And the bigger the file, the more load time it takes for a page to load. If you've got multiple images on a page, you're really compounding the load time, really slowing down your site. Slow sites get ranked worse for Google. So use PNG files very judiciously. And again, that would be when you need transparency and you don't want the low quality that comes with a GIF, which can also handle transparency. But you need high quality, you need transparency, probably like around your logo. That's a good call for a PNG. Now, having talked all about PNGs and all about JPEGs, I'm going to kind of sound like I'm contradicting myself because you should really try to take advantage of something called Webp. So what is Webp? Very few people know what Webp is. It's really, really new. It's a new file format for images that Google loves. And as the name suggests, it's a file type that's designed for the web. It actually requires fewer bytes than a GIF, which historically has been the absolute smallest file size. And of course, small file size means good speed. Good speed means better SEO. So I'm going to encourage you to use Webp. Now, other thing that's really good about it is that it supports both lossy and lossless compression. But here's the thing, it only is supported by Google Chrome and a pretty obscure browser that most normal people don't use, but it's something called Opera. It's not supported by Internet Explorer or their new Microsoft Edge. It's not supported by Safari, and it's not supported by Firefox. So what's the point, right? What's the point of using this Webp file format if all of these browsers, with the exception of Chrome and Opera, can't make use of it? Well, here's why. Because when people are on Chrome, it's a much better user experience. And Google, who ranks your site, is using Chrome when they're evaluating your speed. So in order to get the benefits of using Webp without having your images not show up when anyone uses Microsoft Internet Explorer, Edge, Safari, or Firefox, you can use, in the case of WordPress, if you have a WordPress website, you can use a plugin called Webp Express. What Webp Express does in a nutshell is it makes a choice. If someone's on IE or Safari or Firefox, it serves up the original image type, JPEG or PNG. If they're on Chrome, it makes the Webp file format available. So this is a huge, huge way for you to get a competitive advantage over your competitors. Tip number 9. Use the optimal file size without losing quality. So we see this all the time. Most of the time when people come to us and their websites are slow as molasses and they're ranking terribly and their speed scores are just really suck, it's because one of the big reasons is that their images are just massive. So if someone needs a 400 by 400 image and they've loaded in a 4,000 by 4,000 image, to that person, they may say, well, it's no big deal. It still shows as 400 by 400. Well, it's loading as 4,000 by 4,000, and the website is just resizing it for visualization and for presentation purposes, but that massive image still had to load. So go through your site and find out what size images you need and actually resize your images to the size that you need. And then also when you're saving them in Photoshop, you can save for the web, and that will actually compress that file, and it'll be a much smaller file in terms of just overall file size. Kind of a bonus tip on this is that there's a website called Tiny PNG. So Tiny PNG, just like it sounds, .com. And for free, you can optimize your images. Now, that's not the same thing as resizing the length times the width. You still need to do that. But if you don't have access to Photoshop or something like that, some other similar service, services or softwares, you can use Tiny PNG to compress your file. So you can get 60, 70, 80% smaller images without losing, quality. And so we definitely encourage you to take advantage of that. Optimize your file size. That's a big one. Number 10, add descriptive captions when it makes sense. So captions are actually read more than the text on the page. Similar to like headers and bullet points, captions see up to a 16% higher readership than regular text. And the other thing that's good about this is that the captions under pictures can help explain what the picture is about. It can kind of connect it to your story. And it also gives the search engines like Google and Bing more copy to index. The more information Google and Bing have about a page, the better they can actually rank the page. Word of caution though, this is a great tip, but don't just force it into every page. Work with your designer to make sure that when you put this into your page or into your blog post, that it actually makes sense. And if this is something that you want to do, which we encourage, make sure that that's accounted for so that it stays visually attractive and it's not just forced into the page. Naming images for SEO. So we all go out there, we get these images, right? If you do use stock images, Getty images or deposit photos or something, you see these names like image _ 722017, right? Like some really obscure random name. Even if you have original images because you took our advice and you got original images, you may have these rather obscure names. Get rid of that. Creating descriptive, keyword-rich file names is super important for your SEO. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're selling, chocolate flavored coffee, you want to ditch that, crazy obscure name and, go with something like dark chocolate coffee as the name of the image. That would be better than the keyword naming the image as chocolate, which of course chocolate would be better than image _ 722017. So there's kind of incremental improvements, but really your goal is to get a descriptive, keyword-rich file name. So this helps Google understand what the image is about. And because it helps Google understand what the image is about, it not only helps the on-page SEO, but it also gives that image the opportunity to be discovered in Google image search, which can then, of course, lead to additional traffic for your website. Last but not least, write SEO-friendly alt text. So if you don't know what alt text is alternative text, and it's used by a browser when an image can't render properly. So if there's some sort of an issue with how a page is loading for any number of countless reasons, the internet gods are just not cooperating, whatever, a little box appears where the image would be and it displays the alt text. So it helps make an otherwise bad user experience a little bit better. Okay, so that's super important because like we talked about bounce rate. The other thing is it provides Google with useful information about the subject matter of the image. and that always helps page rankings. Okay, so if you take advantage of these 12 image SEO strategies, this will definitely help your rankings. It's definitely a lot of this stuff is things you can do on your own. If you need help with this, obviously we can help you. So, kind of a shameless plug, Webp is, a full service digital marketing agency. We do a whole lot of different things. Certainly one of our most popular services that we offer is search engine optimization, because Google's algorithms change 500 or 600 times a year. So staying on top of all of that and making sure that your site is ranked at the top of the search results is hard work and time consuming. So if you don't want to take these tactics and put them into use because you don't have time, but you still want it done, you can give us a call. We've got a team of rock stars that specialize in SEO and digital marketing, so we'd be happy to help you out. And our contact information is right here on the screen. You can email us at growth@whitepeak.io, and we'll be happy to help. Thanks, and have a great day.